Psychology has shown how animals and humans behave. These experiments also show how people and animals associate things together. These experiments show why people behave the way they do based on their surroundings. And did you know that we can learn about our behavior from rats and monkeys? Many psychology experiments show how behavior affects the way we behave. It is important to know how people will react and why they react the way they do. I took AP Psychology and have researched these experiments. So the points I'm going to talk about are B.F. Skinner's Skinner box, which is operant conditioning, the bubble doll experiment, which is observational learning, the Little Albert experiment, which is classical conditioning, and Harry Hollow's experiment, which is nature versus nurture. So the first point I'm going to talk about is B.F. Skinner's Skinner box. And the Skinner box shows us how operant conditioning works. According to Verywell, article titled, "What is a Skinner box and how is it used?" viewed on October 13, 2016, operant conditioning uses rewards to enforce the correct behavior. So a rat was placed inside this Skinner box. There's electric shock on the bottom, a lever, and food that is distributed when the lever is pressed. The rat would be shocked until he pressed the lever and then the shock was stopped. Eventually, the rat would learn that when he presses the lever, food is rewarded. Operant conditioning is achieved when no shock is given and the rat continually presses the lever. So operant conditioning uses rewards to enforce correct behavior. The second experiment is Albert Bandura's bubble doll experiment. There were 24 children, 12 boys, 12 girls, and only half the amount of boys and girls were shown a video of an adult beating up a bubble doll. And this experiment shows observational learning. And according to Saul McLeod, writing in Simply Psychology, viewed on October 13, 2016, observational learning is learning that occurs through observing the behavior of others. So this is why the children viewed the video of the adult. They were then placed into a room full of toys. The adults would then view which toy the child liked the most and then take away that toy to make them angry. The children who viewed the adult beating up the bubble doll also beat up the bubble doll the same way the adult did. But the children who did not see the video did not behave the same way that the other children did who saw the video. So this shows how we learn from others and will behave the same way as others because we saw them behaving that way. So the next one I'm going to talk about is the Little Albert experiment. And the Little Albert experiment shows how classical conditioning works. And according to Wikipedia, article titled Little Albert Experiment, viewed on October 13, 2016, classical conditioning is a learning process that occurs when two stimuli are repeatedly paired. A response that is at first elicited by the second stimulus is eventually elicited by the first stimulus alone. So John B. Watson allowed little Albert to play with a white rat. And whenever he touched the rat, someone behind little Albert would clang two pots together, which scared little Albert. So eventually, little Albert made the connection between the white rat and being scared. So now, whenever he saw a white rat, he was afraid of it because he thought it would scare him. So this is how the first stimulus elicits the response by the second stimulus, the first stimulus is the rat, and the second stimulus is the pants. But you take away the pants, eventually the white rat becomes the stimulus. So the final point is Harry Hollow's monkey experiment. Harry Hollow's monkey experiment shows nature versus nurture. Harry Hollow raised several baby monkeys on surrogate mothers. One mother was made out of wire and had breast milk, and then the other monkey was just a cloth mother with no food at all. And this shows us, according to Wikipedia, article title Harry Hollow, viewed on October 13, 2016, this experiment shows the difference between nature versus nurture, and how even though the monkeys needed the wire mother, which is the nurture, to survive, which is the nature, they spent more time with the cloth mother, which is the nurture. So this shows how mother-child nurture, even though, yes, they need the mother to survive, they still need that physical contact, the nurture part. So these monkeys, even though they would just go to this mother to eat, that was all. They would rather spend time with the cloth mother. So B.F. Skinner's Skinner box shows how operant conditioning works. Bubble doll experiment shows how observational learning affects behavior. Little Albert experiment shows how classical conditioning and how phobias can be learned. Harry Hollow's experiment shows how nature versus nurture and how mother-infant contact is needed. And by learning about these experiments, we learn why people behave a certain way. And maybe you can even learn why you behave the way you do and what makes you behave the way you do. Thank you for listening.